That's kind of the coin thing. It all goes back to that old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And I mean, it really happens, and that is even more and more true with coins than anything. The coins really, from my experience, tend to be that way. If someone's got a coin, they're just willing to sell at a great price, there's usually a reason why. So that's just something you need to look out for. The next thing, one of the mistakes that people make, is you need to get a safe. Yeah, what you're going to lock your money in, what you're going to lock your gold in. And I don't care, it doesn't have to be this 700-pound behemoth that you put in your house and takes up half a room to secure your stuff. I'm talking about any kind of safe. Even if all you do is go on like eBay or something and you order one of those $120 like digital safes that's made out of steel. Anything to keep, if you have kids, your kids' friends out of it. Maybe you're dating someone and you guys have a nasty breakup and you would never in a million years think they'd take money from you or take, gold and silver from you. But in the heat of those moments, sometimes people do dumb things. And it's to keep them from having access to that, to being able to do it. This is just precautions. And I'm not just saying this to be overly cautious. I'm saying this from personal experience. I've been through, this. I've had money stolen from me. So it's one of those things, I just hadn't got on it quick enough. Now I have safes in my car, I have safes in the house, practically everywhere, to ensure that, the money and the gold are locked up. And like I said, it's not always to prevent someone from breaking into your house and you're, stopping some professional burglar from it. It's people who are looking for that opportunity crime. I mean, maybe, like I said, your kids invite someone over and you don't know much about that kid, and that kid sees a pile of gold there and normally wouldn't do anything about it, but reaches in, grabs a couple pieces, and runs with it. Whereas if it's in a safe, they might be curious what's in there, but they're not going to be, while they're at your house, in there with a crowbar trying to get into it. So it's just it's a simple thing, even if, like I said, even if it's a $120 safe, that will really greatly reduce your chances of anything happening. And make sure it's a big enough one that you can put like the gold and the silver in. Don't just get this tiny little box that all you ever end up putting in there is the cash. You really need to get one that is at least, like 1.8 cubic feet is one of the ones I remember. It seems to be a popular size. About 1.8 cubic feet tends to be enough that you can actually get a fair amount of metal into it. So get a safe. Don't make that mistake. Do it right from the beginning. It's not very expensive. Get a car safe. Go to a gun shop. They usually fit a pistol, and they're about this big. They have a big steel cable that wraps into your car. Simple device, only about $30. Get a car safe so that if for some reason you were out buying and then you decided to go do something else, go shopping, go to another place, go to a party, and you don't want to be carrying this cash for this gold, you can lock it in the box, put it underneath your seat. In the chance that someone breaks in, unless they brought bolt cutters, they're really not going to leave with that box. And, it's a fairly safe method, a lot better than just leaving it hidden somewhere in your car. Moving on to testing mistakes. Literally meaning if you make a mistake in testing gold, as I talked about with coins, if you buy a bad coin, if you make a mistake in testing gold and you send it off to a refiner, and let's say you're starting out and you bought $1,000 worth and that's all you had, and you're expecting to make like $1,300, and it comes back and you get $900 and you realize something in there wasn't right. Don't let that beat you up too much. Everybody in this business is going to make a mistake. Everybody is going to make a mistake at some point. It is inevitable. You're either going to be in a hurry, you're going to overlook something, it's going to be a gold filled item that's a really good quality piece and you just don't detect it. Whatever it is, it's going to happen. So just take that mistake and learn from it. Now, if you can actually, if you catch the mistake before you send it to the refiner, keep those pieces. Keep them as a reminder. Keep them as a reference to go back and look to as to items that were fake. I'd keep them. I had one chain that I paid like $450 for. It was a heavy gold chain. It was marked 14 karat. It looked like gold. I'd been in the jewelry business. It wasn't. There was just a couple telltale things that I should have known, and I just didn't take the time. So, make sure that you just, don't beat yourself up and learn from the experience. That's all I can tell you about it. Don't give up on this business because of making one or two mistakes. It's going to happen. keep going. If you persevere through it, you know, you will get to the point where those mistakes are very few and far between. And like I said, learn from mine. Learn from my stories about gold, or coins. Learn from my stories about it, and don't make the same ones. Make sure you weigh every single one of them. You know, make sure you listen to all these videos and take those little bits of information, like where to check for stamps. Make sure you run the magnet and the acid testing. And if it's something heavy, make sure you file a notch. You do all these things, you're going to greatly reduce your chances of ever buying something that is faked. The next thing is, this business it's risky. It's risky in nature because you're dealing with gold. You're dealing with cash. And you're not in a storefront usually, you know. Most people are unarmed. You're just kind of roaming around. And, you know, so the thing that I like, why I bring this up, is comes down to where you choose to meet people. You know, it's really not a good idea to go to someone else's house in the event that they pull a gun on you or they pull a knife on you and take everything you got. You don't want people coming to your house because maybe that sale goes fine, but they pick up the phone and call someone and say, yeah, this person had a ton of gold and cash at their house. That's definitely one you want to hit. You don't want them to know where you live. You don't want to be in their house where they're controlling all the shots. What you really want to do is just meet in a public place. You want to meet in a Starbucks, heck, even McDonald's. It doesn't matter where it is. Any kind of a coffee shop. I prefer coffee shops just because, one, I like coffee. Two, it's an atmosphere where it seems like everybody's doing something. People are on their computers working. Things are always like that, you know. So going to a coffee shop, I've never been told to get out of one. I've never been told to get out of McDonald's. Most people never bother you. And the great thing is it's so public that it's really hard to, you know, for those girls to make a stance. You know, if they're thinking about getting you, it's a little tough there. But one of the things I will warn you about, this happened to you know how I said I have a full-time gold buyer. This happened to her one time, and I was really thankful for the person she was buying, or at the time she was buying from. This gentleman was a contractor. He's one of those guys, he's always packing. I mean, he always has a handgun somewhere on him, especially when he's buying. He's kind of one of those tough guys, and I was very thankful that this is who she was meeting with that night, because they had met at a public restaurant, but it was later in the night. We had no problem trusting him. It was that one of the other people we had kind of worked with had called her earlier and asked her, you know, whether she could possibly meet, and she said, well, I'm going to be at this place. You know, I might be able to meet you after I meet him. So they come. Now, the interesting thing is they pull up in a car, and they check things out for a minute, and then they leave. And then they come back, and now there's 4 people in this car, and they're parked right next to her car. Yet nobody gets out. They keep sitting there. Now, from inside the restaurant, they can see that these 4 guys seem to be staying in that car right next to hers. And they're not doing anything. They're not moving. They're just kind of waiting. So, you know, the person she was buying from said, hey, listen, you know, I'm going to make sure you go out to your car fine. I don't want anything to happen. I don't know what these guys are doing or anything like that. And so he was kind of walking behind her, and kind of in a way that you might think he was going to go another direction. And right as she started to get close to her car, they started to crack their doors. And he literally just went up there and slammed their door back in their face and said, you know, they told him, if you want to live today, you're going to turn that car on and get the hell out of here. And it was a really good thing because they heeded his advice. I mean, they just got in the car, no one tried anything, and they left. But it was good for her in the sense that that happened to be, but I'm trying to, you know, have you avoid these situations. And, you know, you may not always have a guy like that there. From that point on, I would not allow her to go anybody without having a second person there, because she's a smaller female. You know, she's a little bit easier of a target. So I wouldn't allow her to go any of these buys. Anything after like 6 p.m. that wasn't in the middle of a very busy place, she couldn't go without having someone else there with her. You know, or it had to be one of our really trusted dealers, because, you know, I never wanted that situation to happen. You know, this business is never worth, you know, getting injured over, hurt over, having, you know, some kind of, you know, getting robbed, a shootout, whatever is going to happen. It's not worth it. So that was the only time we've ever had that was even remotely close. And what their exact intentions were to this date, we don't really know. But it was one of those things that was the only one. So, like, you know, just